Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life, as well as sharing with you what I do here on the farm each week in terms of farm, business, and creative life. I've also been doing these videos as a little bit of a video diary for myself, just to keep track of everything that's been going on and to be able to look back and see all of the progress that I've made here on the farm in the last few years. So, having said that, I haven't mentioned lockdown in a while, but since it is still part of life right now, I would give a little bit of an update just so that it is on record, I guess. The roadmap out of lockdowns was announced this past week, which looks like probably by Melbourne Cup Day in November, we will be out of lockdown with still density limits, masks, and restrictions in place, and vaccination passport of some sort. So at least we have some stages to look forward to now and some steps and can kind of prepare and get ready for when we may be able to travel further and do more. So meanwhile, I will keep busy, try to stick to my routine and just sort of get myself ready for when that open up happens and hope that everything goes well. I do feel safe here on the farm. It's a nice place to be during all of this chaos because we are quite removed from everything. We just see stuff on the news or when we go to go to the shops. So when in our everyday life we are quite isolated, which has been in a way easy to deal with in terms of the virus and the lockdown and everything, but it has meant that we just haven't really seen people at all. So it is going to be quite overwhelming when we're allowed to have people over to the house, when we're allowed to go out again, because it has just been the family here on the farm and no one else. The spring weather has thrown everything at us this week. It has been hot, it has been cold, there has been strong winds, we have had hail, we've had rain. It's just been a really crazy week. And then to top all of that off, there was the earthquake here on Wednesday as well, which was felt pretty much across all of Victoria. Um, but if it hadn't have been for messages and social media, we would literally have thought it was just our washing machine. It tends to really vibrate and like move across the laundry at times if it's slightly off balance. And we all just rushed to the laundry to see what was wrong, and then we kind of figured out that it wasn't the washing machine because it was doing okay, but the house was still shaking. But then, yeah, on confirmation from family and friends elsewhere, we were able to say, yeah, definitely was an earthquake. On the nice days this week, I have been able to get out into the bush and go for a walk. It's been really lovely. It's a beautiful time of year to be out and about. I like to just wander, sort of try and find new ways to walk and different paths, often animal paths, and just look at the flowers and the grasses and trees and find a nice little clearing and sit for a little while. So that was a really nice thing to be able to do as the seasons change. I was also able to really take in just how effective our blackberry spraying was from earlier this year. So that's really great to now see how much has died back and that there are ferns and grasses starting to creep into some of those areas, which is really encouraging. So I've already arranged to be on the list to borrow the rig for spraying again early next year so that we can continue to clear blackberries away, go back through the areas that we sprayed this time to make sure we didn't miss anything and get on to some other areas as well that we didn't get to tackle last time. It is a huge job and it is a job that will continue to be on the list of things that have to be done around the farm But we made a lot of progress in this last 12 months, which is really exciting. And hopefully, by just doing a little bit now, we're able to manage and keep on top of it rather than having huge walls of blackberries that just continue to take over everything. I was really relieved this week that my shipment of DK yarn arrived from New Zealand. I had been trying to order some, but they were in a stage 4 lockdown for COVID, which meant that they weren't able to operate at all. So there was no way that they could pack or ship my order. There was only very basic essential things open. So once their restrictions eased, I placed my order and they really quickly shipped it here, which was fantastic. Luckily, I had been looking at the order while I still had some here in stock. So there wasn't too much time where I didn't have any undyed yarn here. The only thing I did was turn off the availability of my custom dye on DK yarn, which is now turned back on. So if you were looking to get a color of your choice on DK, maybe for that next jumper project you were thinking of starting, now is the time to jump on and get your custom order in, because I have plenty of yarn in stock and the weather is looking much better. So everything is drying really quickly too. So I'll be able to turn around those custom orders fairly quickly. First, what I'm wearing this week. This is a cowl neck poncho, which is a free pattern that I have on my website. It's using a lace weight yarn, the tendril lace that I have in stock, and it is a one skein project. It's a nice light little piece to throw on over the top of anything, just to keep the shoulders warm and create a nice little accessory piece. My brushes finally arrived from Spotlight. Took forever in the post. So now I have, sorry for the crinkling, my set of brushes. I haven't started the second canvas yet, apart from just using a plain color to paint over some of the darker sections of the original picture that was underneath, and to paint around the sides so that they are all the same. I now that I have those brushes, I will probably start playing around this week. I was thinking that I might do a couple of layers, sort of try and do a background color and be quite precise and use the brushes to kind of blend colors together, and then just get a little bit crazy and try some different techniques with paint and brushes and other tools over the top to create some texture. We'll see. First, to some craft that I didn't make. My sister has been doing amigurumi over this lockdown. Lots of little animals and gnomes, which are super cute. But this latest project of hers was a brunch set. So, food for brunch: eggs and bacon and avocado and toast, some cups and some tea bags. And it's super cute. So as she was working on it, she was asking me if I could go into my stash and find some colors that might work. So I helped her out with some of the colors for the apple and the strawberry. She just used some of my undyed yarn for the white for the egg. The two things that she really struggled with in terms of finding a color that worked were for the bacon and for the avocado. Now, I was able to just give her something that I'd been working on for the bacon. It was from the wholesale order that I did earlier in the year. It was an ochre kind of color, and I had a little bit of a sample that I'd done for that. So she used that for the bacon, which turned out fairly well. But then for the avocado, she gave me the challenge of trying to create a new color for her, which was really fun. So I've put it into the creative, not in business, because I didn't write the recipe. It was just purely for fun to help her out with this project. So I just sort of looked at some color swatches online for avocado and looked at what the breakdowns were for the colors. And I popped some different dyes in the pot and played around. And I think I did really well. It came up looking really good with the other colors that she chose to use to create her little avocado half. I do kind of wish that I'd written the recipe down now because it is a really cool color. So maybe in the future I'll have a play at trying to replicate it on a number of skeins for a new colorway in the shop. But for the time being, I'm just really happy with it being specially for her for this particular brunch project. So she challenged herself to make all of these items, and some of the patterns she found online, others she had to sort of create herself because what she had found didn't quite work, didn't look right once you actually made them up. But she's made a really cool collection of things and she put them all into a basket. And she'd been posting them online, showing people how she was going with all these different items, and they were getting really good reactions from people. And it was this really overwhelming warmth and excitement about these pieces of fake food. And unlike when she had like posted a picture of a panda that she'd made, for example, so what she decided to do, because she was making for making's sake, and once she'd finished making it, the challenge was done, and she had this stuff, but she really didn't want to keep it, is she asked if anyone would like to buy it from her off her Facebook page. And the only condition was that they donated the money directly to the charity of her choice, which is Life's Little Treasures, which helps to look after premature babies and their families, which is very close to our heart. So, yeah, so she posted that, and in less than 5 minutes of her doing that, someone had already snapped it up, had made the donation, and was really grateful that they now had these soft food toys that they could have for their kids, and they'd made a donation to a really worthy charity. So she was really pleased because she's now made all this stuff and really enjoyed the making, and now she's been able to pass on that to someone else and also make a donation to charity. I think next she is going to try doing a fast food set, which should be fun. So there might be some more help that she needs in terms of colors. I am willing to go through my stash and help her out if there's something that matches, but also it might mean that there is a little more creative coming along in terms of trying to match a color that might be a little more difficult to find off the shelf. Okay, now to my own craft. Spinning first this week. I have done quite a bit more, and the bobbin is starting to get full. So now as I'm spinning, I do need to be quite conscious of making sure that I'm filling up the bobbin evenly so that I can get everything on to the bobbin, because the first one was so full. So I need to make sure that I can get the same amount on to the second one as well. I'm into the greens. Then I only have blue and black to go. So I feel like I'm getting close to finishing the spinning part. Then I'll need to let this second bobbin set before I can apply them. So I'll have to have a little bit of patience. I shouldn't have to leave it set for too long, just to give it a little bit of time to rest. Next is my socks, my bed socks. Oh, and I'm halfway through doing the heels. So I've done the heel on one, but I haven't done it on the second one. I was doing it just before dinner the other night and I had to stop. So this technique for the heel is great. This is the fish lips kiss heel. Because the heel is done only on one side of the sock, you can get it done and not have to worry about messing anything else up on the second sock or having to worry about remembering where you are, because this heel is now completely done. So I should get this next heel done maybe even this afternoon while this video is uploading, and then it'll just be continuing up the leg. I'm going to try and use quite a lot of this yarn because it is going to be for bed socks. I want them to be quite long. So I've still got 2 balls like this. So there's still enough to make quite a long leg out of the rest of the yarn. I've done quite a bit on the 10 stitch baby blanket expansion. It's pretty big and I need to be careful that I don't slip it off the needles anywhere. So I have done the first side of the diagonal broken rib that I decided to do with the blue. And I now have that on a cable to hold it on. I've kept the stitches live because what I think I'm going to do, it's going to be a challenge because I don't have a huge long cable with the size needle that I'm using, but I'm going to try, is for the border is knit it in the round and have the border connect all the way around rather than doing strips up each side. So I've kept the stitches live so that I can just put them onto the cable at the end to do the border without any picking up of stitches again. So I've had to pick up stitches for each of these sections now. So I've done that side and I am now doing the opposite side again in the, don't want to drop it off the needle. Here we go. In the diagonal rib, I've got maybe 2 or 3 rows left to do of this. It is really gotten really big really quickly. It's incredible that just that much on the edge with the pattern that was already there, it's just really made it grow. So I will then finish this and put this on a holder as well. And then along these other sides, I think I will just do quite a thin line of the blue, just so that there is blue all the way around before I start the border. And then I have chosen a border. I was looking at that Japanese stitch book with the garter stitch edges in it, and I found a really simple one, which is just a few rows of garter stitch, then some stockinette, and then a couple of rows of garter stitch to finish. And I think that that will just look nice and plain, yet tie everything together. It'll kind of mimic the lines that are in the blanket already and just continue the garter look that I've had all the way through. The only thing that I'll have to figure out is how to turn the corners, because it's an edging stitch, not a border, and it doesn't have the charts for the corners. But I think it should be, fingers crossed, as simple as just adding a stitch every other row, either side of that corner stitch. So I will give that a go. Still a little ways off because I still need to do the other edge, but I think it's going to turn out really beautiful. I'm going to stand up and see if you can just get a gauge for how big it is. I'm really surprised how much I've got done on my granny stripe blanket this week. I put in a marker last week so I'd remember which colours I was up to showing you. And the marker is way down here. So it's become my real addictive evening TV craft project. And so, yeah, I've done quite a lot. So I added in Fresh Start, Lavender, Pumpkin, Ho Ho Ho, and Princess of Pink. So I'll move that marker now and keep my progress for next week. But yeah, it is getting nice and big. All right, now what haven't I shown you yet is my crossover cardi. Is it finished? No. Is it close? Absolutely. I finished the border. So at the moment, it is not on the needles at all. Here it is, the border done all the way around. Yeah, I'm really happy. And it took me a while to get into the groove, but once I got going, I was able to really power through the border. As I said last week, once I stopped looking at the chart for the stitch pattern and just looked at the chart for when to do the cables and which way to cross them, I got so much quicker at it, and I was just reading the knitting in terms of the chart. So I've tried it on. It sits really nicely and fits really well across my back. It's a really good length, and it just will need some blocking out at the front just to push that out just a little bit more so that the crossover is quite good at the front. But I think that won't be a problem. So Now what I need to do is pick up the sleeves and just do it's a few rows of garter on each of the sleeve holes and then do a tie that goes around the waist. So I'm so happy that I've gotten that big border done. It kind of overwhelmed me to begin with, and I think that's why I struggled with it for a little while. But as I said, once I got going and just concentrated on the knitting, it's worked out really well. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.